Hey guys, it's Mel'zan. So today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the Depths expedition in New World, and how I think it compares to Amrine, whether or not it's a better experience or a worse one. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so first off, I don't actually have any footage of myself running the Depths, so any video you see is just background and can be ignored. As for the Depths itself, I do think it was an improvement over Amrine. One of the biggest issues I had with Amrine, in fact probably the most annoying thing about it, was how the spirits would move so much that with the animations and how long they take, you will very often push an ability to hit a spirit, it will move away, and it will miss. This happened all the time. It was very annoying. The enemies in the Depths are not as mobile as the enemies in Amrine were, meaning this issue is not nearly as apparent here. Also, just like Amrine, the Depths would have certain places throughout the expedition where you need to use your Azov staff to open certain doors and stuff. I like this just because it adds an extra sense of immersion into the expedition and the world of the game itself. Makes it feel more like you're actually doing it and it's not just a piece of content in a game. And this is something that, at least to me personally, is very important to have in basically any MMO. Personally, I like the general layout and design of the expedition. However, there are a few things that I find a little odd. Mostly, it's a little strange how it has you go into Thorpe's room towards the middle and the beginning of the dungeon, and then immediately has you leave, and you don't ever really do much there. You just sort of kill a bunch of the mobs, then go through another doorway, and it just ends up feeling like you're backtracking a lot, and it's just kind of strange. Another thing I wasn't really very fond of in this expedition was that there's one room where you would come in, and then you would do something with the Azov staff, and a bunch of different waves of enemies would attack you. This is normally pretty interesting and a fun mechanic that I like in dungeons in WoW as well. I'm pretty sure there was at least one or two that did this. Blood Furnace in TBC did this. And normally that is cool, but I just feel like in the Depths it went on for way too long and none of it was challenging. It just felt tedious. Just you're fighting wave after wave of very easy to kill enemies. I was not very fond of that room. Now, despite the fact that the enemies are not nearly as mobile, and therefore the combat is not nearly as irritating, this game's combat system still feels like it was designed around, and it was designed around PvP, not PvE. And as a result, it still feels a little clunky doing an expedition in this game. Overall, it's not that bad, but is not the best combat system for PvE content like expeditions. However, the most noticeable and obvious difference and improvement between the Depths and Amrine is probably the bosses. They have significantly more complicated and more mechanics in general, and they're also significantly more punishing if you mess them up, particularly the second boss and the last boss. This also sort of leads into one of my negatives of this expedition, and that is that the first boss and the third boss are way too easy compared to the second and the fourth, to the point where if any group wipes on any of the first or third bosses, they're almost certainly never going to kill the last and the second boss. It's kind of odd. They are very easy and completely trivial, whereas Thorpe and the cultist dude, whose name I cannot remember, which is the second and the last boss, are very difficult. And if you have a group that is ill-prepared or does not know the mechanics, you will absolutely wipe on them. Due to Thorpe and the second boss, the difficulty in the Depths is significantly higher than it is in Amrine. It is a much harder expedition to complete. As I said, if you're ill-prepared, you will absolutely wipe on Thorpe. I had a group that could not kill him and we had to disband. This is not necessarily uncommon. I've heard this happen to other people as well. I think this is a good thing, especially for an expedition at this level. Amrine was fairly easy. I was okay with its difficulty level for being a first expedition, but the later ones would have to be more difficult, and this one most certainly is. I was quite pleasantly surprised with how difficult the last boss especially was. Even the second boss you can absolutely wipe on if you screw up the mechanics. Overall, I have been pleasantly surprised with both of New World's PvE expedition experiences so far. However, I think it is a bit of a shame because they are very well designed instances, but the combat system just isn't very good for PvE in New World. It's acceptable and it can still be enjoyed, but it is not as fun as it could be if the combat system was geared more towards PvE. That being said, I do love the combat in PvP, so maybe it's a good thing that they didn't change it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the depths and how it compares to the Amrine expedition in New World. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and maybe consider subscribing. You can also check me out on Twitch. I will leave a link to my Twitch in the description below. And I will see you guys later.